guys, welcome back to the MCU HQ, and this is my spoiler review for Spider-Man Homecoming. So if you have not seen Spider-Man Homecoming yet, do not watch this unless you don't care about spoilers. If you haven't seen it and you don't want to get spoiled, there is a non-spoiler review. I will put the link in the description for that. So watch my non-spoiler review, go watch the movie, then come back and watch my spoiler review, and see what you think. I am not held responsible if you get spoiled and do not like it. So with all that out of the way, without further ado, let's get into the spoiler review for Spider-Man Home. So I have some notes over here on 10 different topics I want to talk about in this review. So if you see me glance over here, it's because I'm looking at my notes. And I've divided it up into 3 different sections. The characters and my favorite part is the first section. And some 4 different scenes in the movie that I thought were really good and powerful. And then the last scene, I just want to talk about how they messed up the MCU timeline with this movie. So my favorite part of this movie is probably going to be a lot of yours. It's when Liz and Peter and her dad, Aiden Toombs, are in the car and he's driving them to Homecoming. She's like, remember that party you were at? You were there like 2 seconds and you disappeared. And in his mind, he's like, oh wait, that's the night that Spider-Man came. And she's going through, she's like, in Washington, you skipped the decathlon, you have no clue where you went, and he's just thinking this whole time, like, oh, these were all things my dudes were involved in at these times. And then he stops at the light and it turns red, and then there's red on his face. She keeps asking him questions. He keeps trying to get out of it because he knows that Vulture knows what's happening. And he's like, no, I was there longer than you think. You probably just didn't see me. And saying all these things. Then the light turns green, and it turns green on Vulture's face like he just realized that Peter's Spider-Man. And then he smiles for a sec. And I was like, oh, God, now what's going to happen? And then that followed up with the scene when they get out of the car. And he says, oh, I'm just going to have a father talk with Peter. And he says something along the lines of, dude, I admire you. You're very brave. You got a lot of grit. Go have fun tonight. Forget we ever had this conversation. Don't break my daughter's heart, but I don't want to hurt you. I know we're enemies. I don't want to hurt you, but if I have to, I will, and I don't want to, so stay out of my way. And I was like, oh my God, respect. I really like Vulture's villain. And that, Vulture's villain. I really like Vulture as a villain, and that transitions into my second topic, which is the Vulture. So in my non-spoiler review, I said that Vulture is my second favorite MCU villain right behind Loki. And that's because he doesn't just want to take over the world or take someone's stuff like an Ant-Man, Doctor Strange, and Iron Man. He doesn't want to take over the world like Ego did in Guardians, or Ronan kind of did in the first Guardians. He doesn't want power like Thanos does and like Ronan did and like Whiplash. What he wanted was to feel important. He's part of the working class, and the government and the Avengers, they don't care about him. He even said at the beginning when Damage Control came in, they're like, we'll take it from here. He's like, hey, please, we all have families. We're all trying to support our families. I bought trucks for this job. We're all here. We really want to work and get rid of all this so we can go home and support our families. She's like, yep, sorry, can't help you. And then he's like, that's it. I want to support my family. I know you guys do. We're going to take this alien tech. We're going to build stuff. We're going to steal it and use it against the people who are being total jerks to us so that we can improve the lives for us and our families. And I think it makes him a perfect villain. Simple, but at the same time, it complex, because it's not the normal villain thing. It's simple. I really like that about them. And the second thing I really liked about the Vulture is that he didn't want to kill. Like I said about my favorite part, he said he did not want to hurt or kill Peter, but if Peter gets in his way, he will. And that scene when Shocker is sitting there, he's like, so what if I fire him out in the open? I can defend myself, I'm good. Vulture's like, no, if the Avengers or someone comes down here, we're screwed. He's like, I don't care, I'm going to do whatever I want. And then Vulture was going to try to scare him with that anti-gravity gun, and instead he, like, burned him to a crisp, and he just turned into ash. He's like, thought that was the anti-gravity gun. And I've heard people say, like, well, he just shrugged it off like it was nothing. He didn't really shrug it off like it was nothing. There's nothing you can do with a pile of dead human ash. So he's like, well, he's dead now. I didn't want to, but I guess I have to live with that. And then he put the gun back. And I like that about a villain. Every MCU villain up to this point has just been like, boom, boom, just trying to kill everyone. And Vulture was not like that. I admire that in a villain. And like I said, I have respect for Vulture. Third thing is... I got sick the other day. The third thing is the Gwyneth Paltrow and Jon Favreau are in it. They were both in Iron Man 3, and that was the last movie they were in. I like Jon Favreau's role in all three Iron Mans, and I really liked it in this, acting like a big brother role, and I liked his character, especially in the beginning when he walks out of the shower, and he's like, we have thin walls, you know, and right before the battle, when he's like, what's that? Peter's like, it's my suit. He's like, where's the case? I want you to get the case. And then when they're getting out of the car, he's like, I have to carry this up. And Peter's like, I can get. He's like, yeah, sure. Like, he's working so hard for Tony, but he's the comedy relief of the movie. And I really think people were worried that he was going to be this was going to be an Iron Man movie. It wasn't, and I think Jon Favreau was there to be like the Tony Stark figure, because he wasn't Iron Man, but he was there to keep an eye on Peter, which is the job that Tony had to do to make sure he stayed safe. So I really liked the character of Happy Hogan in this movie. And then the shocker scene, not like the shocker villain, but the scene that shocked me personally, is at the end after the Iron Spider scene, and Peter and Happy are walking away, and Pepper Potts comes out like, oh my god, they got her a new contract. And then the ring scene where it's like, oh, I've been carrying this since '08. So it's really cool that Gwyneth Paltrow is back, because Pepper Potts is like crucial to the character of Tony Stark, right? She's the whole reason that he kept doing like what he was doing. He destroyed all of his suits, toned down on how Iron Man-y he was. And he always cared for her, and then she was just gone in Age of Ultron Civil War. And they brought her back, and I really like that they brought her back. I always liked her character, and it makes me happy to see that she's back in this movie. The fourth topic is the relationship between Tony Stark, or Iron Man, and Peter Parker, or Spider-Man. I thought they had a great relationship. It was like a father-son relationship, especially in the... there were three scenes it was really in. It was the scene when Vulture drops him into the lake and he's drowning, he's wrapped up in his parachute, he can't get out, and Tony comes and gets him out. And he's like, man, you're lucky they have Wi-Fi where I am, or you'd be screwed. And he opens the mask, there's nothing in the suit. I like that scene. And then the scene, this was the Iron Man Spider-Man scene. It was after the boat thing, when he's trying to fix the boat, and Tony comes in, and he's like, Spider-Man, I see you're not at band. And he's like, hey, what can I do? He's like, you've done enough. I'm like, oh, he's mad now. He turned off the training wheels, took out the tracker, and then they're on the thing. He's like, anyone that died, that's on you. But if you die, that's on me. I don't want to have that mark on my record. I'm going to need the suit back. I wanted you to be better than you are. And he's like, I'm nothing without the suit. If you're nothing without it, then you shouldn't have it. And then that's a recurring line in this movie. That scene was just, the entire time I was like, oh, man. I'll talk more about their relationship again in the Iron Spider scene, which is the 8th topic on my list. But for now, I want to talk about Marissa Tomei as Aunt May. I thought she performed well. And the character was, I really liked her character in this movie. Like, when, I'll talk about I'll talk about the very end. But, it was mainly in the part where, I just had a brain fart. Okay, it was in the part when when he was getting ready for the homecoming thing. He comes in, he's like, May, I need your help. She's sitting there, she's getting the suit all ready for him. And then in the car, they're rehearsing. I was like, oh my god, that's what a parent would do. She's assuming the parental role, which I really like that, because in the Sam Raimi Spider-Man, she was more like a grandma. Only in the Amazing Spider-Man's, actually, in Sam Raimi, she was like a grandma, and then he moved out, and like she really didn't get to do anything. She had barely any screen time in the rest of the series. The Amazing Spider-Man, he lived with him. He lived with her the entire time, and she really was she was kind of like a grandma too. She acted like an older lady, and in this one, she acts like a mother, which is what I would think you would do if you're the only guardian that the kid has. So I liked what they did with Aunt May. I like the whole motherly concept of her. And her last line in this movie is actually the last line of the movie. And you guys know what it is. He's in his suit when Tony gives it back, and he takes off the mask. He's so happy, and Aunt May's like, "What the?" And that ends. And the entire theater just busted up laughing. It was hilarious. I did not expect that. My friend's like, "Whoa, they almost anti-child this movie, didn't?" But that's all I have to say about the first chunk of this. The first 5 topics of my spoiler review were just about characters and actors. Now I'm going to get on to 4 scenes in this movie that I felt were very powerful scenes. And the first one is the scene in the rubble after he's gotten to Vulture. Vulture's like, "I didn't want to hurt you, but I have to." And he sends his wings through to break every pillar in the building, and it just comes down on Peter, and then he flies away. And Peter takes off his mask, throws it down, and he's all sitting there. He can't move. He's like, "Help me, someone, please. I can't move. I can't move, please. I need help. Someone get me out of here." And then he realizes no one's coming, and he looks down onto the ground, and his mask is sitting folded like that, and he sees his reflection. Half of his face is the mask. And he just takes a second to look at it. Then in his mind, he hears Tony say, "If you're nothing without this suit, then you shouldn't have it." And then he realizes, he's like, no one can help me anymore. If I'm going to be Spider-Man, I have to be Spider-Man. And then he pushes up on the rubble. He's like, and then he pushes that giant thing off of him, just like in Spider-Man 2 when Peter pushed the wall. He pushes it off, puts his mask back on. He's like, "Well, I gotta do this now." That scene and the car ride are my 2 favorite scenes in the movie. It's the scenes where you realize that these 2 people, these mortal enemies, they have high respects for each other, and they're both scenes where Peter has to grow and become Spider-Man, like really become Spider-Man. No one's there to help him anymore, and that's something in this movie that's different from any Spider-Man movie we've had before, where he's like, "I can do it myself." I mean, he's a grown-up in those movies. In this movie, he's still a kid, and he's got to learn to do this on his own if he's going to be a hero. That rubble scene was followed up with what I consider a fan service scene. It's the scene where Vulture raids the plane. And this scene, in my opinion, I feel like it was there just for fan service, Easter eggs, and nods to the rest of the movies. He boards it, he goes in, and the second he goes in, it shows the Mark 42. And he's going through, he opens up a box of arc reactors, he takes out an Iron Man helmet, I think it's like the Mark 46 helmet or something, he throws that. He's just going through, finding all these different Avengers things. I'm like, this is fan service, right? Because he said he was going to go there to raid it, and he never really raided it. He just looked at it, and then just hopped back into his suit to fight Spider-Man. So I'm assuming when he took over the plane, he did set the new coordinates, but the only reason he was really in there that long after he said it was just so fans could see things. And then the scene right before the plane scene is the scene where Happy's like, "Okay, we're all good." Some of Tony's stuff, his old Hulkbuster suit, and Thor's magic belt. I'm like, okay, I'm familiar with the first 2, but what's Thor's magic belt? Because we've seen Thor with a magic hammer, but have we ever seen Thor with a magic belt? No, we have not. So I'm going to re-up on it, see if that means anything. What I'm thinking is it's something Tony designed for him that's going to be in Infinity War, possibly in the end of Ragnarok. I'm not sure, but it left... I don't think it was meant to leave questions, but it left me questions. And then one thing that goes along with the plane scene that I feel I should talk about is another fan service scene. And that's the scene when he's at the damage control center with all the stuff. It's like, there's gotta be something I can use to get out of here. And he pulls out the head of Ultron Prime. He's like, oh, that's not it. That's scary. And then throws it and it's just sitting there. I really thought that was hilarious. My friends and I were all giggling at it. It was really funny, and that's just another thing I feel goes along with the plane scene, is just a nod to previous movies. And this is the last main topic I want to talk about. And that is the ending with the Iron Spider suit. You know, he's walking through Avengers facility, and Tony's like, he's testing him this whole time. And at the end, he's like, dude, you could be a real asset to the team. Then he opens up this door, and you could hear the people in theater go, oh. He opens up the door, and the Iron Spider is sitting there. It's like a new, moderner design. It's got that same red helmet from the Civil War suit thing. And it's like red and blue all the way down. It's kind of like Spider-Man 2099 suit. And it's got this giant, like, red and white spider. And you can see it looks like it's a different fabric. It's not the same stuff. And we're all like, oh my god, that's the Iron Spider. Are they really going to put the Iron Spider in this? And this is the scene in my non-spoiler review where I say I can't believe they didn't do this. But so we're all sitting there like, they're going to do the Iron Spider. And Tony's like, he's like, I welcome the newest Avengers, Spider-Man. And Peter's just thinking, he's like, will you leave his school and move upstate to be with the Avengers? And he's like, I don't want it right now. I'll stay a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. And I was like, oh my god, they put in the Iron Spider suit, and 5 seconds later, they got rid of the Iron Spider suit. I have no clue whose idea that was, but I really did not enjoy that. I mean, I enjoyed that his character has grown, and he's willing to, not be an Avenger and just stay the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, but, I mean, they couldn't have even given him the suit. Really, it's the Iron Spider suit, and it had like maybe 5 seconds of screen time. They looked at it, panned down, it panned up it, and then they never showed it again. Really. So yeah, that's my rant on the Iron Spider. But then the very end is a scene where Tony has the bag in the room, and he's like, this belongs to you, and it's his Civil War suit. I was like, furthers a relationship between the two of them. How Tony believes that Peter's ready for this power, and he was just waiting for the moment to unleash it on him. And I'm pretty sure the training wheels protocol's off, the tracker's off. Tony's like, you've earned it, kid. Good job. And that goes with the Iron Man Spider-Man relationship that I was talking about earlier. How well these two characters, their relationship is of like a father-son relationship. Like, I feel like that's something that my dad and I would go through. For the last category in this section, it's the post-credits scene of Vulture walking through the prison, and the Scorpion comes up to him, and he's like, he said, they put me in here. I hear that you know who the Spider-Man is. Tell him so we can kill him. And Vulture contemplates it for a second. He's like, if I knew who he was, he'd be dead already. And I was like, he doesn't want to rat out Peter. Respect. And that goes with why I like Vulture as a villain, because he doesn't want to see people get hurt. He's just trying to be a good guy. And the fact that he didn't die at the end of this movie, I really like that, because in every Spider-Man movie, the villain died. The second post-credits scene, though, it was really weird, but it was totally worth the wait. It's one of the little Captain America TV things that they're putting on. They were putting on through the movie, and he's like, so you're still here. Good, I want to teach you about a lesson. Patience. Like, why you had the patience and are now so disappointed that you stayed here for this. Everyone just, I think people crap their pants laughing. It was hilarious. It was a great post-credit scene. It was stupid. It was just like the shawarma scene, but I feel like they would have missed something in the movie if they did not put that in there. The more I think about it. So that's my that's the main 9 things I want to talk about for this movie. Just real quick, people are talking about the characters of Flash and Michelle. Flash's character, I actually really like Flash's character. In every other movie, he's like 30. This is perfect age, and he's not really a bully. He's more of just a jerk that targets Peter. I think that's perfect Flash. And then the character of Michelle, she was probably my favorite character in the movie. I like Ned, but I like her just a bit more. She was socially awkward. It made her hilarious in that scene where she's at detention. And he's like, "You're not in detention." She's like, he said, "You're not in detention." She's like, "I like drawing pictures of people being humiliated. See, that's you." So yeah, that's just my quick thoughts on Flash and Michelle in this movie. But the 10th thing I want to talk about, number 10, is how this movie screws up MCU timeline. As we know, they've done it before where they went out of yearly order, like in Guardians of the Galaxy and Volume 2. They're both in 2014, even though they came out 3 years apart. In this movie, however, it starts with a prologue at Stark Tower after the Avengers, and they're cleaning up everything. They're moving the Leviathan out of the way, and that says 8 years later. You're like, whoa, holy crap! It's 2020, right? Because Avengers took place 2012. It's 2020 right now, and it says a film by Peter Parker, and it's showing Civil War stuff. And this was actually a timeline mistake inside of a timeline mistake, was this Civil War scene. So it's showing all this Civil War stuff. And then I'm like, whoa, hang on, we have to take a time out for a sec. Because Civil War happened in 2016. I'm pretty sure they even said in the movie that it showed the year at some point. It said 2016. And if we're following this 8-year later pattern, that would mean that this movie had to take place 2020, which changes the Civil War to 2020. Or you could say, oh, well, if Civil War takes place in 2016, we know Doctor Strange after that, which says 2016 and that, so we know Doctor Strange takes place in 2016. Well, then we just have to push it back so that it becomes Spider-Man's in 2016. Well, if we do that, that moves it back 4 years. So what does that mean? It means that the Avengers happened in 2008? No, that's not at all what happened. Iron Man happened in 2008. Avengers happened in 2012. That's already been confirmed. The 2 Guardians movies happened in 2014, and apparently Civil War happens in 2020, which is, that's 3 years from now. And that's 8 years from the Battle of New York. And even if we put Daredevil and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and all those shows in there, that means that messes up the timeline of all those. So we have like a whole new timeline for the MCU at some point. And I talked about this in my non-spoiler. And I'm hoping that at some point they release something to show the timeline, or at least put out like a MCU timeline video or chart or something to help figure out what this timeline is. And then when I said timeline mistake inside of a timeline mistake, it was the Civil War part at the beginning. Because as we know, at the end of the airport battle, Tony said, hey, you're done, go home, or I'll call Aunt May, go home. So we're left, oh yeah, Peter goes home. This movie changed this so it makes more sense, so Happy's there, right? So you're like, okay, Happy takes him home. And then Tony went to fight Cap and Bucky, and you saw his face is just wrecked. Like, he's got to have some scarring on that face. And then it shows Peter's little video diary. Tony's got one little cut here, and he's still with Peter. I mean, what's this been? At least a couple days since he told Peter to go home. So I'm like, okay. There's a couple continuity errors in this movie. And then one more I have to talk about is Avengers Tower Moving Day. At the end of Age of Ultron, they had the new Avengers facility. And then in Civil War 2016, they had the scene where they're at the new Avengers facility. They're doing the little remodel, or they're at the new Avengers facility. In Spider-Man, they're doing the remodel, and so you're figuring, oh yeah, so they're just finishing this. So when does this have to take place? Like some point around that time. But apparently it doesn't, because apparently this movie takes place in 2020, which would mean that they had all this stuff just sitting in Avengers Tower for, how long would that be? Like, they've had all this stuff sitting in Avengers Tower for 5 years and just now sold it to someone, probably Oscorp. So those are the three main things in this movie that I find are some seriously big timeline screw-ups that I really want to be fixed or explained somehow. But that's my spoiler review for Spider-Man Homecoming. I hope you enjoy it. Leave your comments down on this movie below. Leave a like and subscribe for more MCU content. Have a great day, guys.